He's journeyed across all of Asia, through India, and finally back to Rome, spreading the mysteries of the vine.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most enduring members of the Roman pantheon.
The Romans, Mars, that is their god of war.
Number 20, Janus, god of beginnings, gates, transitions, choices, and endings. The Greek gods and goddesses may predate the Roman era, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this pantheon is devoid of unique personalities. Janus is one such god, a symbol of new beginnings, of doorways into unique experiences.
Bearing two faces, Janus is ever looking to the future and to the past.
This could be translated as both metaphorical and literal, since openings of non-temple buildings in Rome were often named after Janus. The calendar year of January is named after this two-faced god. Meanwhile, a comparatively more recent example of his influence lies within the film distribution company Janus Films, a collaborator with the Criterion Collection. This company opened up the proverbial gates for art house cinema directors like Fellini, Kurosawa, and Antonioni to be exposed to a new audience.
Spelar jag dig matt, följer du mig?
Number 19, Mors, personification of death. Many members of the Roman pantheon were adaptations of Greek gods and goddesses that were already in place. That said, nearly every mythological heritage features a personification of death, and Mors served this place for the Romans. Mors is essentially a take on the Greek god Thanatos, in that Mors doesn't necessarily preside over a domain, like Hades. Instead, Mors embodies this physical state within ancient Roman culture and art. The name of Mors also possesses a confusing gender identity, since it is female in origin yet usually depicted in a masculine form. This conflicts with poetic descriptions of Mors from artists like Seneca and Horace, who utilize female pronouns to describe her pale, ghostly appearance. Number 18, Luna, goddess of the moon. This next goddess is something of a softball pick since her name has endured so much into the modern day. Luna is, of course, the Roman goddess of the moon, a counterpoint to Sol, the sun god. There exist other members of the Roman pantheon that are associated with this celestial body, such as Diana and Juno, but Luna still stands as a unique figure from this period. The image of Luna riding her yoked chariot across the night sky is a powerful one, and indicative of just how memorable these mythological beings still can feel to our culture today. Number 17, Flora, goddess of flowers and spring. Flora is another somewhat obvious moniker on this list, that of the Roman goddess of flowers. This minor deity is just one of multiple members of the Roman pantheon that embody nature-based characteristics, with Flora celebrating specifically the fertility of springtime. This association with nature, as well as the sexualized celebration rituals that were often associated with her priesthood, have also made her popular with pagan sects. This modern-day appreciation ensures that the cycle of rebirth associated with goddesses like Flora remains in the conversation for New Age practitioners and historians. Number 16, Ceres, goddess of agriculture, fertility, motherhood, and the earth. The worlds of both Roman and Greek mythology possess gods that run the gamut from major to minor. For example, there are a number of minor deities from Rome that are associated with agriculture, yet Ceres is so important that she is included among Rome's principal gods and goddesses. This Earth Mother is a member of the Dei Consentus, the 12-deity panel of Rome's most important mythological figures. The maturity of Ceres in her physical and artistic depictions underlines her matriarchal status, and she's largely considered analogous today to Demeter in Greece. Number 15, Fonus, god of the forest, plains, and fields. The Roman god Fonus retains the word faun in his name, making it quite easy to make comparisons to films like Pan's Labyrinth with regard to his appearance.
Soy un fauno.
Faunus possesses a close association with the Greek god Pan, both of whom are sacred to shepherds and those who till the fields. Early historical depictions of Faunus actually eschewed physical similarities to this end, although comparatively more recent images of this god have blurred those lines. Indeed, later sculptures and paintings of Faunus even deign to include goat hindquarters to the god's design, forever connecting him to fertility, nature, and the wild plains. Number 14, Juno, queen of the gods, goddess of marriage and childbirth. Every king needs a queen, and for the Romans, the name of that exalted goddess was Juno. This consort to Jupiter was the patron saint of Rome herself, and gave birth to fellow gods Mars, Vulcan, Juventus, Bellona, and Lucina. Juno wasn't just considered a wife and mother, however, but also a goddess of politics and battle. She was a counselor and also a protector of Roman women. Juno's Greek counterpart is Hera, and her reputation was equally feared and respected as any other names throughout the Roman pantheon.
Well, we can't have you do that, my dear.
Number 13. Vulcan, god of fire, metalworking, and the forge. It's quite easy sometimes to simplify how the Romans adapted the personality traits of the Greek gods into their own folktales and stories. The image of Vulcan doesn't feel on the surface to be much different from Hephaestus, his Greek counterpart. Both gods are blacksmiths, creating weapons and armor in their great forges. Vulcan is also the god of fire itself, a deity of dangerous volcanoes and barren deserts. This god also shares certain physical similarities to Hephaestus, in that both are often depicted as bearded and bearing a smith's hammer. However, Vulcan doesn't appear to retain the physical disabilities, nor the marked ugliness of his Greek parallel. Number 12. Diana, aka Diana Nemorensis, goddess of the hunt, wild animals, fertility, and the moon. The origin story of Diana Nemorensis, aka Diana of the Wood, was ushered into Roman mythology from this nature goddess's mirror image from Greece, Artemis. Both heavenly ladies are goddesses of the hunt, nature, and fertility. Both are warriors, possess a strong independent streak, and make fearsome enemies for those who cross their paths. Additionally, there are other minor deities that are often incorporated under the larger banner of Diana, including Luna and Cybele. This is due to Diana's association with the moon, menstruation, and womanhood. Artemis and Diana certainly possess many similarities, but this Roman goddess's persona has also endured today, and her name is often mentioned whenever these myths come up in conversation. Number 11. Apollo, god of oracles, healing, music and arts, light and knowledge. The legacy of Apollo is similar to that of his sister Diana, in that large amounts of his Greek history were adapted when he moved to Rome.
He belongs in the underworld, not here.
In fact, the Roman Apollo was considered to be one and the same from the Greeks, an inherited deity, if you will. This god was a seer and a prophet, a light giver and muse for both law and the arts. Apollo was considered a musician, poet, and doctor, healing the sick and injured.
On this battlefield, there are gods of war and gods of death, but the god of music is undefeated.
Yet his wrath could also incur disease for those who fell out of his favor. Additionally, one of Apollo's many offspring was Asclepius, the patron saint of medicine and doctors. Number 10. Mercury, the messenger god, god of travelers, thieves, and commerce.
Mercury,
god of commerce, wrestling, gymnastics, thieving, good luck, sleep, wealth, and dreams.
wow.
There's a god of thieving?
Mercury's duty as messenger of the gods carried over from his Greek counterpart Hermes, but his Roman incarnation further developed his role as patron god of travelers, financial gain, providence, and more. That's a pretty wide range of responsibilities. In the ancient poem Fasti by Ovid, Mercury is tasked with bringing the nymph Lorinda to the underworld, though Mercury, also a god of trickery, gets a bit sidetracked, and the two have sex. What a reputation. Mercury is depicted wearing a winged hat and shoes. Look familiar? They should. They were adopted by DC's The Flash, who's based on this Roman god.
And in a blur of motion, police scientist Barry Allen becomes The Flash, world's fastest human.
Mercury's speed also inspired Ford to name a division of premium cars after him. Well, a guy's gotta get places. Number 9. Buckus, god of wine, agriculture, ecstasy, and theater.
It's a wondrous addition. To Bacchus, to a full grape.
If there's one Roman god you'd want to party with, it's definitely Buckus. The complete Roman equivalent of the Greek Dionysus, he's best known as the god of wine. The fact that the ancient Romans had a god specifically for wine makes us think that they were probably pretty awesome and definitely had their priorities in order.
This is just the first stop of the no-holds-barred Bacchanalia.
The Romans took their worship of Bacchus to the next level by holding a festival in the god's honor called Bacchanalia, which, from what we can tell, was just a giant orgy.
And his penchant for staging elaborate private bacchanalia, replete with extravagant scenery and costumes not seen since the reign of Caligula.
The festival was considered so debaucherous that the government basically tried to ban it across all of Italy in 186 BC.
Sorry, guys, you know the rules. No fun allowed.
Come on, you pansy! I'm thirsty. I want me some Tennessee Looby juice.
Number 8. Cupid, god of erotic love and desire.
Come on, Cupid, get it over with.
Honestly, Cupid has always kind of creeped us out. You'll definitely recognize this chubby, winged, naked baby as one of the symbols of Valentine's Day and thus a mainstay in popular culture.
It is I, Cupid, god of love. Ha!
Oh, baby, this is gonna be a happy, happy Valentine's Day.
In myths, he plays a comparatively small role, whose purpose is mostly to stir up trouble by piercing someone with an arrow and putting them under his lustful spell. Cupid has managed to surface in modern media from the Santa Claus 2 and 3 to the one-season ABC flop Cupid starring Jeremy Piven.
It's a Valentine's Day conspiracy. I don't blow my own horn, so I end up on wrapping paper looking like a fat winged baby. There you go, look at that, huh?
He thinks he's Cupid?
You'd think the god of erotic love and desire would have a little more street cred. Maybe putting some pants on would help.
That little rascal stole all of Cupid's arrows and went on a shooting spree. I'm talking about baby Bliss, you know.
Number 7. Saturn, god of time and agriculture.
Saturn, god of harvest and grain, bringer of food, drink, and merriment. Choose your king.
Another god, another awesome festival. Near the end of December, Romans celebrated Saturnalia in honor of Saturn. It was a joyous time when gifts were exchanged and slaves were given temporary freedoms.
Hey, Sheldon, are you and Leonard putting up a Christmas tree?
No, because we don't celebrate the ancient pagan festival of Saturnalia.
The festival actually shares a lot of similarities with the Western tradition of Christmas, and its placement near the end of the calendar year meant that Saturn came to be connected with the passage of time and particularly the shift to the new year.
Christmas has its roots in the pagan festival of Saturnalia, which is traditionally celebrated by intoxication, naked singing, and the consumption of human-shaped biscuits.
Even today, our calendars bear his name in the form of Saturday, and the planet Saturn also demonstrates his lasting influence. But like his Greek counterpart Kronos, Saturn's relationship with his children was less than perfect, since he had a tendency to, eat them. Number 6. Pluto, god of death. Whereas the Greek god of death Hades was basically the most diabolical guy around, Pluto was actually a revered and respected Roman god, seen as a pitiable figure. Hades provoked fear, but Pluto was worshipped as the god of wealth and abundance, especially of the earth and its crops. Given that the underworld was located below the soil, he came to be responsible for that as well. Unlike his brother Jupiter, who procreated excessively, Pluto was never said to have any children, and was monogamous with his wife Proserpina. Of course, Christianity later drew associations between Pluto and the devil, but it seems like he may just have been one seriously misunderstood dude.
And show unto us, I beseech you, the gods of the underworld.
Number 5. Minerva, goddess of wisdom, poetry, and weaving.
How about Minerva, after the Roman goddess of wisdom?
Not enough commercial appeal.
Minerva's beginnings were, strange. After the god Jupiter impregnated the Titaness Metis, Jupiter remembered a prophecy saying that one of his offspring would usurp him. Logically, he ate the pregnant Metis and hoped for the best. After suffering from terrible headaches, he got one of his buddies to split his head open, and out came a fully formed and armed Minerva. Clearly, this chick was hardcore. Minerva has become a symbol of academia and is featured in the seals and emblems of many educational institutions. Fans of the Harry Potter series will surely see the connection to education in the character of the wise and stern Professor Minerva McGonagall, who was named after the goddess.
Your skills, after all, are legend.
Number 4. Mars, god of war and agriculture.
It comes from Mars, the god of war. And it means little warrior.
Remember how it was Jupiter who gave birth to Minerva and not, her mother? Well, Jupiter's wife Juno, not Minerva's mother Metis, yes, Jupiter was a player, decided to get back at Jupiter for stealing her role in childbirth and having Minerva alone. The myth tells of a magical flower that let her conceive without the help of a man. And the result of this little experiment? Mars. Like Pluto, Mars is the more likable version of his Greek counterpart Ares. Though Mars is the god of war, he is not a violent or aggressive figure, but rather someone who uses warfare as a means to achieve peace.
The Romans believed that sword belonged to Mars, their god of war.
We all know the legend, thank you. We were told it as children.
Number 3. Venus, goddess of love and beauty.
Who are you?
I am Venus, daughter of Jupiter, goddess of love.
In Botticelli's famous painting, The Birth of Venus, we see the myth of Venus's inception depicted in all its glory. The painting may be beautiful, but the story is not. As legend goes, Saturn castrated his father Calus and threw his genitalia into the sea. And from the horror and gore came something truly beautiful. This alluring goddess.
At least he wasn't a Roman god. Those guys are jerks.
Her connection to the Roman people is perhaps closer than any other figure on this list, as her son Aeneas brought the surviving Trojans over to Italy to establish Rome. In today's pop culture, the image of Venus still represents the ideals of female beauty, and is even used in marketing feminine hygiene products.
Now there's a razor that swirls and swerves as every blade adjusts to your curves. Venus Swirl.
Number 2. Neptune, god of the sea.
That's a statue of Neptune, god of water.
Believe it or not, Neptune, ruler of the deep blue, had humble beginnings. He started off as a god of smaller bodies of water like rivers and lakes.
I'm Neptune, god of the sea. I sink ships and conjure up storms.
No, you're not. I am. And you know nothing of my work.
Before he took over as head honcho, it was Portunus or Fortunus who were to be sacrificed to and credited for any triumphs at sea. But by the 1st century BC, Neptune had solidified his place.
The Navy is ever assembled.
Old Neptune, shake thy hoary locks.
58 ships are underway, of every tonnage and firing range.
Of all the gods on our list, this brother of Jupiter and Pluto definitely makes the most impressive entrance, rolling in on a chariot pulled by water horses while brandishing his trident. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Jupiter, god of thunder and king of the gods.
In the Roman myth, Jupiter, the god, drew a veil of clouds around him to hide his mischief.
Until Christianity was adopted by the Roman Empire, Jupiter was their number 1 deity. He was an omnipotent and all-encompassing god whose domain covered all aspects of life, from government to religion. In fact, an entire class of priests was devoted to making sure Jupiter was receiving proper sacrifice, something the Romans believed would earn them favor with the god. The incestuous relationship Jupiter had with his sister wife Juno was carried over from their Greek counterparts, though their relationship was probably more complicated because Jupiter had trouble keeping it in his toga. Despite these shortcomings, Jupiter is the most powerful and epic of all the gods, earning him the title of King of the Gods and the king of this list.
Hail Jupiter! Give me victory!
Who's your favorite Roman god or goddess? Let us know in the comments.
The curtain descends, everything ends too soon.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.